By 2026, more than half of middle-class retirees, 53%, will rely on Social Security as their primary income, not as a supplement, as their main lifeline. And for many, that lifeline is already too short. There's a quieter moment that doesn't get talked about much. It's not the day someone turns 65. It's not the paperwork. Also not the first Social Security check. It's the moment when someone realizes they're tired in a way sleep doesn't fix, and stopping isn't really an option. There's a man in his early 60s who shared his story on Reddit recently. No drama, no collapse, just a sentence that lingered. I didn't expect to still be doing this at my age, but I also can't afford to stop. That line could belong to millions of Americans right now. He started working young, not chasing big money, just steady work. Years that stacked quietly on top of each other. Paychecks came, bills got paid, life moved forward. Groceries, rent, later a mortgage, kids, car repairs, insurance increases that never felt urgent, just annoying. Nothing ever collapsed. And because nothing collapsed, nothing felt wrong. Retirement existed as an idea, something assumed, something future him would handle. That assumption lasted decades. That's the trap. When life feels stable, preparation feels optional. By the time his body started pushing back, the math had already hardened. Savings existed, just not enough. Retirement accounts weren't empty, just fragile. Healthcare costs ascended every year. Every new line item made stopping feel dangerous. So he kept working. Not because he wanted more, because stopping felt like a risk he couldn't take. This is where Social Security quietly changes roles. It stops being a supplement and becomes the plan. According to the Transamerica Center for Retirement Studies 2025 survey, more than half, 53%, of middle-class retirees rely on Social Security for most of their income. Not as backup, as survival. Working past 60 isn't heroic when it's forced. Physically, recovery slows. Mentally, patience thins. There's less margin for mistakes, less tolerance for stress. People don't talk about the quiet resentment, watching friends retire, watching energy disappear, watching life narrow to work and rest. Not dreams, not exploration, just maintenance. The longer this goes on, the harder stopping becomes. Another family shared their story on social media. From the outside, everything looked fine. Parents who worked their whole lives, never extravagant, never careless. They never talked about money. By the time the truth surfaced, the savings were gone. What remained was Social Security and help from their children. Not because they planned it that way, because silence delayed reality. Many retirees, often over 40% in lower income groups, depend on Social Security for at least 75% of their income. That number grows every year. The average Social Security benefit in 2026 is around $2,071 a month, after the 2.8% COLA. That sounds workable until you list reality. Housing, food, utilities, healthcare, transportation. There's no buffer in that number, no room for surprise. So people keep working, or they worry constantly, sometimes both. This isn't what retirement was supposed to feel like. One more story. A man, 67, still working, not thriving, enduring. He wrote, "I reached retirement age. Financial freedom never arrived." For about 20 to 25% of retirees, Social Security is their only income. No backup, no second layer, just enough to exist, if nothing goes wrong. Here's what stands out when you listen to these stories long enough. Nobody thought this would happen. They worked, they stayed consistent, they endured. But endurance alone doesn't create security. And time doesn't fix math, it just reveals it. Looking back, the warning signs weren't dramatic. They were quiet, depending on one income, delaying conversations, assuming work could always continue. Social Security was never meant to replace a full life's income, but for millions, it became the last rope. This isn't advice, it's reflection, repeated across stories. 3 shifts come up again and again. Not complex moves, timing moves. First, people wish they had tested life on less income before retirement. Even 1 year of deliberately living below their means exposed weak points early. Housing costs, subscriptions, car-related expenses, while work income still existed to adjust. It didn't require perfection, it required awareness. Second, they wish healthcare spending had been separated from normal expenses. Once medical costs were isolated, they stopped being invisible and stopped quietly hijacking the entire budget later. It wasn't about predicting illness, it was about seeing reality clearly. Third, they wish money conversations had happened earlier. Not polished, not comfortable, just earlier. Because silence didn't preserve dignity, it delayed options. None of these guaranteed safety, they simply created breathing room sooner. If any part of this resonates, not as a warning, but as a quiet echo of your own life, pause here. What's the one realization about your future that hit you hardest today? Share it in the comments below. Your story could be the lifeline someone else needs. Thank you for watching.